In 1995, they were on top of their game, but the two-man band that was wowing TV audiences one season would be history the next.
We always said if it wasn't fun, we'd stop doing it, but free beer, girls, money? Come on, guy.
Amazingly, in November of 2001, After Dark was back in the bars and under the lights once again, doing what they've always done best, making fun of drunks, pretending they weren't drunk, and making people turn the channel in revulsion. Clearly, this was no ordinary show. This was a show that just would not die, no matter how many people tried to kill it. In the winter of 1989, Slato left the mean streets of Syracuse, headed for the green peaks of Killington, and a rendezvous with destiny.
I knew that the up-and-coming Killington television station was looking for a host for the new program called Fresh Tracks, so I went and auditioned for the show.
So we were looking for someone who embodied the word ski bum. And Slato walks in. I mean, I took one look at him and I told everyone else to get the f*** out.
It wasn't long before everyone connected with the show knew they were onto something.
The bars were packed every night we shot the show. I mean, women were literally tossing themselves at us. Unfortunately for them, I couldn't partake. Hey, I'm spoken for. Now, really, I didn't partake. I didn't.
The town was buzzing. I mean, people were excited, and it was like, wow, they're going to make it. They're actually going to make it. Scooter and Slato were like gods back then. Two big, sexy gods.
By the spring of 1992, Killington After Dark, as the show had come to be called, was the #1 après-ski show in East Central Vermont. The boys were the toast of the town, and the red carpet was rolled out wherever they went.
I know this is going to make me sound silly, but they were sexy, plain and simple. I mean, what's sexier than fun? And they were having fun. Lots of it.
On the outside, Scooter and Slato seemed like all-American boys who were into skiing and fun. But on the inside, booze, sex, and drugs were taking on increasingly larger roles. When Budweiser took over the show in 1994, Slato took a fateful step. He went from drinking a beer every now and then to becoming a full-blown addict, occasionally injecting the drug.
Basically, from 96 on, every show, I was drunk. If it weren't for Scooter acting as my crutch, I'm not quite sure where I'd be.
Alcohol and stardom turned out to be a destructive combination.
Fame, it's a funny beast. It affects people in different ways. Believe me, I know. People are always around. Everybody wants a piece of you. The pressure is tremendous. Well, the two dealt with it in different ways, too. Scooter dove into his craft, into his work, into his art. Whereas Slato, he dove into booze, meaningless relationships. His behavior became very erratic. He was seen around town with a monkey named Gurgles, for goodness sakes. I mean, what is that?
While publicly the credit was split between the two, privately locals began to talk about the dynamic duo of skiing. While Scooter was praised by sponsors and viewers alike, Slato's reputation for heavy drinking and hard partying began to cause problems.
It's no secret Scooter was the driving force behind the show. I mean, he would spend all week getting scripts together, talking to Budweiser, shooting ski flicks, creating comedy bits. I mean, he didn't stop, but he loved it. Then on Friday, Slato would come waltzing in and ruin everything. Oh, I'm Slato, give me a Budweiser. Oh, I'm Slato, where are all the hot chicks? Oh, I'm Slato, I have a camera and microphone, pay attention to me. Oh, I'm Slato, give me another Budweiser. I mean, it was awful, awful. Scooter, it ruined it for him. I mean, it was so hard to watch his labor of love fall to pieces because of the machinations of one very, very drunk man.
Despite valiant efforts by Scooter and the show's producers, tiny cracks started to form in their public facade.
A lot of the tension that was obvious behind the scenes started to work its way onto the air. Scooter would be here getting things prepared, writing scripts, but Slato wanted no part of that. He'd just grab the cameraman and start drinking and get some young girls and throw them on camera and get them drinking, and then he's drinking and they're drinking. And
late in the spring of '99, ratings began to drop and support for the show was thinning faster than Slato's hair. It was only a matter of time before the show's major sponsors pulled out.
We got a problem.
Budweiser was pulling out of the show. Their keg had run empty. And the money was gone, too. I mean, I knew things were going to change. It came down to Scooter, the golden child, and Slato, the troublesome alcoholic. I just basically did what I had to do to survive.
When Slato lifted his head out of the bottom of the glass, he didn't like what he saw. Years of all-night partying had left him broke and debilitated. While Scooter had grown in power and prestige, he decided it was time for a change.
It was a terrible, terrible time for Scooter. Lots of screaming, lots of fighting, verbal and physical. So it was a very painful time for him. He felt as though his public had turned away from him. So Scooter turned to his family for comfort and support. I mean, he wanted to call it quits. He said, enough of this bull poo-poo, who needs it? It was his family who convinced him to stay, that he had worked too hard to just simply walk away from the show and leave it to Slato. Can we edit out the bull poo-poo part?
Slato's work took on an increasingly sinister tone. He would do anything to keep the spotlight off Scooter, and he didn't care who got hurt in the process.
I mean, we had this idea to do this thing, the Bartender's Challenge. It was going to be Scooter and I, and it was going to be him and Phil Black, and it was kind of going to be a challenge between the two of us, but they were going to be our trainers, and we were going to build up the whole thing over the course of the season, and it was you know, it looked like it was going to be a lot of fun, but Slato didn't like anybody else's input, so he just grabbed the camera and grabbed Phil and kind of went off and did it on his own. They found this Archie mask or something that they thought looked like me, and it hurt. It was a long time after that before I would call Slato a friend again. He got to the point where he just had no regard whatsoever for anyone else's thoughts, or more importantly, anyone else's feelings. The last show that Scooter was involved with, Slato decided to replace him with a head of cabbage, and that was it.
Scooter, we've been looking forward to this all year long. You're killing me, guy.
It was the cabbage sketch that proved too much for Scooter. After 8 years as the face of Killington nightlife, Scott Watlett walked away.
Scooter felt disappointed, betrayed, stabbed in the back, if you will. He felt as though they had started this journey together. And then they came to a crossroads and they had to part. It was sad. But when you have two people who are that talented, that driven, that consumed by genius, usually only one way wins out. Unfortunately for Scooter and the rest of the viewing public, that way was Slato's. I mean, if you ask me, the man has no taste at all. I mean, tool of the week? What is that?
The loss of his TV soulmate proved a devastating blow to Slato. It sent him reeling even further into the abyss of alcohol and drug abuse. And sex. In the summer of 2001, Slato checked into a rehab clinic in Pensacola, Florida, about as far away from the bright lights of Killington TV as you could get. There, he began his long trip back from the brink of depravity.
Finally, I was released from the prison of self-obsession.
With his rebirth well underway, Slato stood ready to take a renewed interest in both himself and the show. Unfortunately, Scooter was not ready for the new Slato. While he refused to speak with us on camera, Scooter did say this in a phone interview.
How the f*** did you get this number? I told you never to call me here. Just leave me the f*** alone. I'm done with your shit. Just let it go. It's a stupid TV show on a channel that nobody watches. You pick on drunks for sakes. Grow the f*** up and never call me again.
It was yucky. I mean, it's so sad to think of what could have been.
Producers held auditions in the fall of 2001 to find a suitable co-host. Instead, they found two. Carrie Chambers, a local radio DJ and longtime Killington personality, and Kevin Osborne, a fresh young face with his eyes set on becoming the next king of Killington nightlife. After 1 year with the new hosts in place, Killington After Dark is once again back on top, and Slato is right there with them.
Scooter, he's got some big shoes. I know I'll never fill them, but in Carrie and Kevin, we've got some great, new, energetic hosts. They bring a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of starry-eyed, oh my goodness type of stuff to the show. And that's exciting. And you know, every Friday night as I take their hand, we walk through that wonderland that's the Killington nightlife, it feels good here, deep down. I love it. And besides, I still get to go out every Friday night with my big microphone and talk to all the hot chicks.